You're listening to Spreaker Web Radio.
You are listening to Let's Talk About It, sponsored by the #1 broadcasting network on the net. And that's Spreaker, that's Spreaker.com.
Okay, y'all, so we're back, and I apologize. Spreaker had an overload and cut us off, so this is Let's Talk About It, Part 2. I am the wild and wonderful Brenda White, coming to you live from the Jewel of the Delta, and that is Forest City, Arkansas, where it is 92 degrees and hot. They call it sunny. I call it hot. And joining me to talk about it and always helping to keep you informed on the line is the uppity and well-read Jacqueline Lambert. And on the line from Montreal, Canada is the professor of the blues himself, Walter DeBille. So we are back once again. My apologies. Okay, Jackie. So let's go with the show schedule. Barry K. Jackson will not be able to join us today. So Walt and Jackie and I will continue. So we're going to start with President Obama states the obvious, then the dangers of a good brain, or shut up, Donald, victory for voters, and the sexual harassers. And let me start by saying that I posted on our website, Let's Talk About It on Facebook, just a couple of days ago, after hearing the president speak at a White House press conference with the Prime Minister of Singapore. As I stated, as I posted the video, President Obama officially began today beating the Republicans over the head with their nominee. He's unfit, so why do you keep endorsing him? Jackie.
Yeah. Well, President Obama has said again, he spoke about this last week, as she said, with the Prime Minister of Singapore. And this week he said, I said so last week, that Donald Trump is unfit to be president, and he keeps on proving it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I am really gratified that President Obama has decided to speak out about this, because he is the president. He knows what the job takes, and he knows that Donald Trump is intellectually and temperamentally unfit to be president. And just like you were saying before, Brenda, there are a lot of people now who have started going through those psychological tests to all the symptoms of a narcissist and all those different things. And Donald Trump exhibits every single one of those.
Yes.
When with the test, if you only exhibit half of those traits, you are diagnosed.
Yes.
As a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that you have psychopathy, as they call it. Right?
Yes.
It means that you're actually sick. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so President Obama, he is doing what, we were just talking off the air about Hillary Clinton being awfully quiet and just going on about her business.
Mm-hmm.
But President Obama, he keeps pounding that wedge.
Mm-hmm.
He is breaking the Republicans up. He's doing a very fine job.
Yes.
Why are they still supporting him? Are you a Republican first or an American first?
Yes. And Jackie, with all of the putting down of America and our military and our people and how we ain't shit and we don't win and we can't win, I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. And as we all watched the Democratic convention and the Republican convention, the Democratic convention, just from the television screen, it was so inclusive. Mexicans, blacks, whites, Indian, Muslims, you name it, they were in that hall. And after having a spectacular convention with spectacular uplifting speeches, at the end of the convention, when a Methodist minister closed the convention in prayer, the cameras started to zoom in on the hand holding that took place in the convention hall. And it was a black man's hand with a little white girl's hand, and an Indian hand with a white woman's hand, and a Muslim hand with a little black boy's hand. It was so touching. I promise you, I did cry a couple of times in listening to that to that convention, and Reverend Barber was one that just set me on fire as he got through his speech, and he talked about the Republicans having a heart, and then he asked, was there a heart in the House tonight?
Mm-hmm.
From the movie of the 5 Heartbeats. Remember the song? It was, he brought me to tears, and different friends were texting me, no, he didn't. Is there a heart in the House tonight? It was amazing. And we're asking today, along with the president, is there a heart in the country tonight among these Republicans that see that this man is insane?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about in reference to this, too, was something that we spoke about on air and off the air, and that is the psychology of holding power.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That with the Republicans, they feel like they have to ride this horse because they want to stay in power.
Mm-hmm.
And if they totally diss Donald Trump, right, then all those angry people who they think are going to come out and vote Republican aren't going to come out and vote for them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will really be in trouble.
Yeah, then where will you be?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you think about if you think about that, if they lose their base, this is their base now. You know, all these angry, racist, poorly educated white people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is their base now. And if they lose them, they're done. Well, the Republicans have already become more of a regional sort of party and not a national party. Do you guys understand what I mean?
Yes.
Okay. And so the Democrats are making inroads in places where they should not be. Places like Georgia. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Places like South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Those are places where the Democrats should not be. You know, places like Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All these states that have been Republican strongholds for nearly 2 generations
Mm-hmm.
are now in play.
Yeah.
And this is all because they have abandoned their principles. They have abandoned the concept of governance. And this is what they're left with.
And Jackie, I say good for these battleground states that's showing, we already know that Hillary Clinton has the black vote and the majority of the black vote and the community behind her. But
Mm-hmm.
I say to white voters everywhere who are getting off this Trump train,
Mm-hmm.
God bless you and thank God for you, because where will this country be? We have never seen such violence breaking out as he has unleashed in these people's hearts and minds.
Yes,
And
well, we've seen it before.
yeah, we've seen it before.
We haven't seen it. We haven't seen it recently.
Yeah.
And someone made a point yesterday that I really had to think about being a Democrat and having been a Democrat my entire adult life.
Yes.
What if my choices were between, like, Kanye West
Okay, Jackie.
and, say, Ted Cruz?
Yeah.
What would I do? Both are a catastrophe
Yes.
in my mind.
Neither one.
I know I couldn't vote for Kanye.
Okay,
But vote
Jackie.
for Ted Cruz, I'd rather cut my hand off. So where does that leave me?
Yeah, Jackie. Write yourself
Mm-hmm.
in. You would be more qualified and more sympathetic and have a heart for the country, especially more than Ted Cruz. But I just think Kanye West would be completely and totally unfit. So I would be with you on that, Jackie. But we've got a better choice than that in Hillary Clinton. All of what you think about Hillary Clinton, her record speaks for itself.
Yeah, it does. And just like President Obama said, that she is the best qualified candidate ever to run for president.
Yeah, she really is qualified. And what we have to remember is that our presidents and our governors and so on and so forth are human. So if you think through these emails, she made a terrible, terrible mistake. Well, thank God she's learned, and the country didn't suffer for it, and she won't make that same mistake. Human beings do make mistakes, but at least Hillary Clinton is someone that will acknowledge this mistake, has acknowledged it, has apologized, and they continue to say, why don't she just apologize? I've heard her say it. I've heard her apologize and say, well, I'm sorry, I didn't think at the time that, and as she said, there were over 300 security people engaged in these emails, sending them to her as well. And then again, these emails, and when they say she's lied about what the FBI director said, he did explain, he did elaborate on this. Well, let me say this, they were not properly marked as...
Yeah, and then some things were classified afterwards.
So, yeah. And she had people...
So anyway, yeah, we have that bit. But one of the things that has been spoken about too is that Colin Powell had his own email server.
Right.
Because apparently the technology that the State Department uses isn't
Yeah, they were the ones hacked, not Hillary. The State Department was the one hacked.
Yeah, but as far as someone being completely unsuited to be president, that is Donald Trump. And to me, there's only one choice.
And that is Hillary.
What is it? The Bernie or bust, it's Hillary or bust.
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and get to the dangers of a good brain. All right.
Yes.
One of the things that we are seeing in this campaign is the danger of someone who will not or is constitutionally incapable of taking advice.
Yes.
Someone who is completely devoid of any kind of personal discipline and who just makes shit up as he goes along.
Yes.
And it's going to be interesting to see how many people finally get fed up with this shit, just like the top secret emails and I have a relationship with Putin and I want to ban immigrants except for the ones that I want to work for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How many people are going to finally say, "Oh, this is ridiculous"?
I'm going to bring all jobs back to America. They're screwing us so bad. Obama and Clinton are screwing us so bad. But all of his ties, his shirts, his furniture, his depends, all of that's made in another country. And yeah. I'm just going by the laws. But nobody made. The laws are there. The trade agreements are there for him to take his products out of the country and make them and sell them. But nobody made him do it. I mean, the laws don't make you. And if he loved this country so much, right. You're telling us you don't have one factory here for making your product?
No, he doesn't. But then another thing, too, is just like we were talking about off the air. I think that our off-air conversations are better than the ones we have on the air sometimes. And that is that Donald needs to shut up. The best thing that he could do is you were talking about, Hillary Clinton going on vacation for a couple of weeks. That's what Donald needs to do.
Yeah, but he doesn't do it. That's the strange thing.
Yeah.
Well, we know he doesn't do it.
Yeah, it's like you said. It's like kind of some kind of a personality disorder that he has to be out there all the time.
Yeah, and one of his staffers said that they try and keep him out on the road because when he is not otherwise engaged, all he does is sit and tweet all day, and they don't want him doing that either.
His daughter has said, they've asked him, what would you like for your father to stop doing? She said tweeting. They asked his wife in an interview, what would you like for your husband to see your husband stop doing? She said tweeting. Stop. Mm-hmm. Because they know that he cannot control himself. Yeah. And he's going to say something stupid. Just give him as you know, Jackie, as he talks about, I'll change and I'll do this. Now is the time. It's been the
Yes.
time. He will not
Well, but
change
he's
because
70 years old. He's not changing.
he's not changing. The time is now. Um, y'all, can't you see this is a personality trait that he has? He cannot change.
Yes.
You listen. You don't have to tell me and Jackie some things that you don't say on the church floor. You know. But even I know, as I shiver many times as he gets ready to speak, or as he begins to speak, as he got up the other day and said, "A man came up to me and gave me his Purple Heart," and I said, "Is this the real Purple Heart, or is it a copy?" And the man said, "It's the real Purple Heart, and I want you to have it." And he said, and I asked the man, "Would you like to say something on the microphone?" And the man said, "No, I just want you to keep doing what you are doing." And now we find out that the man did give him a copy of his Purple Heart and not his Purple Heart. And then what did he say that made me just shiver? And I mean, I really shivered in the bed, just a quick shake. What? No, shaking my head. He said, "I always wanted a Purple Heart. This is easier."
Yeah.
There's just some shit you don't say. Didn't no tears come to his eyes. His voice didn't change. And he said it in a happy-go-lucky, we going to the baseball game tone of voice. He didn't say, "What an honor for all of those who were wounded and died and suffered, that this man would give me his Purple Heart. I don't deserve it." He didn't say something like that. Now, I'm telling you this, I'm a sane person, and this is what I would have said in a moment like that for someone to give you, quote unquote, a copy of their Purple Heart, or their Purple Heart, which he did not. He gave him a copy. But he said, "I always wanted a Purple Heart. This one was easier." You know what you have to do to get a Purple Heart, don't you, people?
Don't you think these campaigns are too long? I mean, you know, in the day, I mean, they did in Canada the last federal election have a longer campaign than normal. Normally the campaigns here are something like 35, 40 days, right?
Yeah.
When you have all this time, it's like it's like when you're in school, right?
Well,
you
that's
got too
not.
much time on your hands,
Well,
right? And all of a sudden,
that's not
weird
going
things
to
happen. I mean, you know, shouldn't people actually be talking about, like, I don't know, trade issues, foreign policy, you know,
Yeah,
all
but
the
right
domestic
now,
issues, instead of worrying about all this other stuff? And you don't get that in these campaigns because everything is turned now to this personal stuff, and
Walt,
especially with Trump, the way he acts and everything like that.
We
You
know what we should be
It's not a
talking.
healthy political thing, right? I mean,
No, it isn't, because it turns the whole election into a reality show.
Walt,
yeah, it has. And that's what he's done, essentially. I mean,
and while we know what we should be talking about, but on the other hand, we must talk about this man now. This man is insane.
we've seen that. It's
and that's what I'm saying.
No,
and right now we should be talking about him. And as the president officially began to beat the Republicans over the head with their nominee, we gotta keep saying this every day. We gotta talk about this every day. We wish we didn't have to talk about this, because it's some real tomfoolery coming out of this campaign that's making people take notice and say, "God dog, wait a minute, who the fuck does that?" Yeah, we got to talk about it now.
Yeah, and I was going to say, the social climate is so bad. I mean, with all the, you know, I mean, how many weeks have we spent talking about problems with the police and shootings and so on, or even the recent thing that, you know, on
or at the top of
the famous tower shooting in Texas, that they now allow students to carry concealed on campus at public universities in Texas. I mean,
awesome?
And those are very,
what kind of social climate is that? I mean, you know.
Yeah, these are some really serious issues that you just mentioned, and it would be so much better that we could put our attention towards it. But once again, the presidency of the United States, the most powerful position in the world, is at stake. And it's so sad that we must keep this son of a bitch out of this office. And so we've got to talk about him and his tomfoolery and his insanity instead of these real issues. But this has become real as the someone made a flyer or a post and put it on the page where the mouse had a shotgun at his hole in the wall, and the cat is out there, and the mouse says, "Shit just got real." So
Yeah.
so
Well, yeah.
this shit just got real.
The other thing that we're talking about Trump is that his latest thing too is saying that the election is going to be rigged.
Yeah, he's setting this up.
That?
Yes, he's setting this up, Jackie, because he knows he's going to lose, and he wants to start plant the seed, which he doesn't have to plant long. Just say it one time to his low information voters, so they'll believe that no longer does voting matter. It's just rigged.
Yes. Well,
what did I tell you last night, Jackie?
That is that the Republicans are the people who have been rigging elections now for quite some time with all of their new voter suppression laws, right?
Yes, and it's been proven.
In July, there were several court cases that struck down many of these laws that have been being litigated now for at least a couple of years, because after the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, it wasn't even a full 24 hours before states like Texas and North Carolina were implementing laws that the Justice Department had told them they couldn't implement.
Mm-hmm. And Walt shared this story on our Let's Talk About It page as North Carolina has become the latest defeat. The Supreme Court just ruled against them.
Okay. Well, I have I have the information right here in front of me.
Please tell us, Jackie.
So
that came from Barry. Actually, I just have to give him his props here. I put it up because he sent it to me.
Oh, okay, very good. All right.
First, we're going to start with Texas. And
okay.
On July the 20th, the Federal Appeals Court ruled that Texas's voter ID law had a discriminatory impact on voters, and they ordered the lower court to come up with a fix before the elections in November.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And so, even though this case is not, the court did not find that Texas purposely set out to disenfranchise minority voters, they found that minority voters were being discriminated against. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then on July the 29th, a 3-judge panel of the 4th U.S. Circuit Court overturned North Carolina's voter ID law.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike the Texas ruling, the appeals court ruled that the North Carolina legislators had actually passed a law with discriminatory intent.
Mm-hmm.
And they wrote that the law that was written that changed the voting process targeted African Americans with almost surgical precision.
Oh, my God.
And imposed cures for problems that did not exist. Now, this one was the hardest one, the one in North Carolina, where they just said, well, what the North Carolina legislators did is they received a study about voting patterns in North Carolina and had it broken down by race. And then after they got that information, on voting practices by race, they enacted legislation that restricted voting and registration in 5 different ways, all of which disproportionately affected African Americans. So, we always say that the Republicans always shoot from the hip, but this time they actually used the actual data and information to do the shit that they did. So that law has been struck down, and that's very good for voting in North Carolina in November. And with the removal of these barriers, North Carolina might go Democratic again. Okay, because they did in 2008, and then the legislature enacted all of these restricted laws, and Mitt Romney won North Carolina by a whisker. in 2012, right?
Yes. Jackie, may I say something on your reporting?
Yes.
Along with that, they said that one of the most comprehensive studies on the subject found only 31 individual cases of voter impersonation. Out of more than 1 billion votes cast in the United States since the year 2000, researchers have found that reports of voter fraud are roughly as common as reports of alien abductions.
That's pretty good.
Jackie, that's really good. Since the year 2000, y'all, 16 years, they found 31 individual cases of voter impersonation as Donald Trump took the stage last night to start to say, we're going to have 10 people voting over and over and over again. And Jackie called me at 1:00 and we said, you can't get somewhere on election day and vote 10 times. And okay, and if you had 10 people voting over and over again, or one person, that still is not going to be enough to affect the outcome of the election. So his setup for his losing the election, his voter fraud theories just does not work, and the researchers have already found this stuff. But of course, Donald Trump doesn't go on facts. This shit comes out of his imagination late in the night.
Yeah, well, like President Obama said, he's not a facts guy.
No. No, he's not a facts guy, Jackie. Oh, my goodness.
These are examples of why, too, this election is so important. Because do we really want Donald Trump appointing Supreme Court justices?
No. No, we don't.
Okay. No, we don't. And so if Hillary is elected and she appoints judges, we might be able to get some of this stuff undone.
Yes. And that would be a good thing. And Jackie, this is what we know, that it's only the Republicans that are constantly trying to rig the voting system.
Well, because they don't have enough voters to carry them, Brenda.
They're only mad.
They have to rig the system.
Listen, Sarah Palin, you have these idiots, Jackie, every now and then that will let their top secret stuff out. I told you some years ago on this show, Jackie, that the Republicans must be sending out memos all throughout the night, because how can you wake up and you're in Washington, D.C., and somebody else is in Utah or in Kansas, and they all take to the mic and they all use the exact same phrases? It just doesn't make sense. And one day, here comes an email. Brenda, this proves it. The Republicans do send out memos, and they have a phrasing, and they have this and that. And, I wasn't a rocket scientist, but it's just impossible for Jackie to wake up every day and she and I have the exact same phrasing on any situation. We may be thinking the same thing, but we're going to phrase it a different way. And then we're going to say, I was thinking the same thing, Jackie. What I said was, you don't say the exact same things unless it is purposely planned. And so Sarah Palin told us why they are so against immigration. Now, it's only the rich white folks hiring immigrants, right?
Right.
And giving them jobs. But Sarah Palin explained to us why it is they are so against, because they're all coming over here and going to vote democratically. Why is that? Vote for the Democrats. And so we must stop them from coming in the country. I thought, damn, she just told the secret, because, we were speculating as to why. But she told it. And then, like the congressman that jumped up and told, I just had a Trump brain fart. But the congressman jumped up and told why, oh yeah, Hillary Clinton was going to lose because they had already set it up to use Benghazi and call her a liar. He told this shit right on TV. And I can just see the rest of the Republicans just cringing. Yeah, why you think we keep using Benghazi against her? Yeah, she's going to lose because we've already set it up. He told that. I'm not saying his verbatim words, but that's what he said. Jackie, do you remember that?
No. Oh, yes, I do. Kevin McCarthy.
Yes, he told how they intended to defeat her. Yeah. And I think a lot of Republicans and moderate Republicans and just a lot of other really good-hearted Americans also saw that how the Republicans plan to defeat Barack Obama once he was in the White House. And that was, we are just going to say no matter what it is. And that meant even if it's good for the country, just like his bill for getting people back to work in this country, infrastructure. He talked about it on the trail, and then he had a campaign where he took the bill around the country in his hand, holding it up, pass this bill. And what did they do? They did not pass the bill. And they knew it was for infrastructure, and that's what the president was asking for this money for. And they knew it would help the American workers, blue-collar workers.
Yeah, but, Bryn, the thing about that is that what is really obvious to me, and I mean, I'm not going to say that Democrats are
angels.
Different.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I will say is that the Democrats went ahead with the health care law, even though it really cost them.
Mm-hmm.
It cost them seats, it cost them a lot of things, but they did the right thing.
They did the right thing,
and
yes.
So I don't know if they're ever going to get any proffers for that from anyone, but they get proffers for that from me.
Yes, okay? Yes.
But now, Walt, I could hear you sucking your breath in. What did you want to say?
No, I just
yes,
I want to say that when you look at American politics, I want to say the same thing I've said for I don't know how many times since we've been talking. Americans tend to forget how conservative the United States is. I mean, if I look at it, if you ask me, I don't live in the U.S. and I haven't lived there for a long time. There hasn't been a Democratic president since Lyndon Johnson. I mean, the Democratic Party has been pushed to the middle, I think, too far to the middle, and that's because of all this stuff that happened with the Reagan years, right? And what happened after that was this push so far right. So these people who are Republicans now, to me, they're fairly extreme right, and so they're fighting they're fighting for privilege of a certain type of person, right, in the United States, and they've bamboozled. They use race or whatever else is the case. I mean, we've talked about the famous what's his name, Hanny Lopez's theory there about the famous dog whistle politics and included racial things, and using that essentially, to keep power and to keep the upper class rich, right? I mean, it's essentially how it works, and that's his definition of racism. His definition of racism isn't what happens in etiquette and polite conversation and social whatever. His thing is it's using racial themes to keep power, right?
That's very true.
And I think that's a pretty right on. Yeah, I think that's a pretty right on analysis when you look at it.
Yeah, that is very true. And the thing that's most interesting about that is that, for instance, during the Civil War, when there were the poor folks in North Carolina and Tennessee and a few other places who staged their own rebellions because they didn't want to fight and die in a white man's war. They didn't own slaves. They had no intention of owning slaves. So why should they be fighting so that rich guys could keep their slaves?
Mm-hmm.
And so, the people who, of course they did.
Sorry, Jackie. Jackie, we missed that after you said the people. you had some interference in your voice. You said the people what?
From what part? Well, I was just saying that the people who got what Walt was saying, of course, they got wiped out because they, you have these people who believe that they have some kind of privilege that they really do not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the whole racism issue is all about people maintaining their power. Just like and keep the rich people rich. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also shocking that the United States has so many people in prison. I mean, everybody complains about various other countries, but according to the statistics I read in a very reputable place like The Guardian or the New York Times or Washington Post, I don't remember which, the number of people in prison in the United States is equal to the number of people in prison in all the other countries of the entire world.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that when you're in prison for whatever offense, like, smoking some grass or doing whatever, right, that you lose your voting rights and you lose your welfare rights and things of that nature. I mean, that's pretty tragic when you think about it. That's created a whole underclass, and and that's an amazing thing,
Yeah, that's really true too. I was amazed when I learned that we had more people in prison in the United States than they have in China.
Right, I mean, a country that has a huge population, or everybody talks about the Gulag and Russia and so on. Back in the day of the Soviet Union, but I mean, and not only that, but you have the entire industry of these private prisons and stuff. It's absolutely incredible, right?
I know it is incredible.
Jackie, I don't mean to rush us on, but we have 11 minutes until or 13 minutes until the close of the show, and I want you to get to your last subject.
Oh, the sexual harassers.
Yes, the sexual harassers.
Yes. Well, on our show, not this last one, but the one before last week's show, we closed the show talking very briefly about the sexual harassment case that Gretchen Carlson had filed against Roger Ailes. And pretty much probably about 15 minutes after we went off air, Roger Ailes announced his resignation from Fox News. Now, with this, with this shocking resignation, as I've heard it called, I didn't think that I thought it was shocking because I didn't think that they would cop to anything at Fox just because of, I don't know if any of you remember the stuff with Bill O'Reilly and his producer, and they've had their share of sexual harassment scandals since Fox has been on air, and they haven't been really shy about it either. But this has opened up a whole new conversation about sexual harassment in the workplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now Rupert Murdoch has come back to be the chair of the Fox News division temporarily. But I read a story recently about how at Fox News the atmosphere is really bad because you have those pro-Roger Ailes people who think that this is all garbage, that he was forced out. And then you have the women who've been working at Fox and who have suffered sexual harassment from Roger Ailes, and who knows who else, who are glad that old bastard is gone.
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about that? What's her name? The lady, isn't her name Lund or something like that? The one who was his so-called booker for his sexual booker?
Oh, well, would you please? Well, you can talk about that if you want, Walt. Because
I thought you were going. I mean, I read the story because Brenda on one of the shows, I don't know if it was doing my show or it was on last Friday when she was doing hers, told me she read this amazing thing about Roger Ailes, and I thought that was what she was going to talk about. The what's her name? The lady, isn't it Lund or something of that nature?
Yeah, she worked. She worked for him. She got a job with Roger Ailes some years ago. Being paid about $500 to do little runaround stuff in DC, little political stuff for him. And then they entered into a sexual relationship. And then he videotaped her.
Yeah, that's the lady, right? That's the guy.
Yeah,
and she worked for him for 20 years or something, right?
Yeah, he videotaped her having sex with him from the very beginning of their.
I thought it was that he just took tapes of her.
No, he videotaped her early on.
And dancing provocatively.
No, he videotaped her early on from their first sexual encounters, and then showed it to her and told her he would just keep this for safekeeping to ensure that she would do what he told her to do. And then he went on to force her to get other young girls to have sex in front of him, to get them to have sex with him, to get her and them and whomever else to dance for him, just his whole patrol. And he
okay, well, see, I'm looking at the story right now.
Yeah.
The woman's name is Lori Lund, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And at her peak, she earned $250,000 a year as an event planner at Fox, while according to both her own account and 4 confirming sources enjoying Ailes' protection within the company. But the arrangement required her to do many things she is now horrified by, including luring young female Fox employees into one-on-one situations with Ailes that Lund knew could result in harassment. He's a predator, she told me. In recent years, Lund had a series of mental breakdowns that she attributes to the stress of her situation and was even hospitalized for a time. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, doing that, for more than 20 years has got to be
stressful. You living
it's got to be really hard
like that, and you know what you're doing to other girls that you are forced to lure into. And Jackie, when you look at him, I'm gonna go on and set it out there. I believe he did it. I believe her.
He did it too, because a New York Times reporter has investigated this, and he has interviewed, he said, 15 different women who don't know each other, and they all have roughly the same story.
He's interviewed 25, and 15 of them told him that it's amazing. And I believe he did it, and I understand these men and power. It's all about their power, and they obviously don't feel very good about themselves. And I'm sure looking at him now, I can only imagine.
Oh, no. Brenda, don't go there.
Okay.
Don't go there. That's what you want.
Roger Ailes, naked.
Anything sexual or anything
Roger
like
Ailes, naked, in vision.
It's like she's on the shoulder of the road. You're trying to keep her on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep her, in
Jackie said, look, now, see, I wasn't thinking, I was thinking it because I said, imagine. But Jackie made it come to mind, naked, Roger Ailes naked. Brenda, don't. She started begging, please don't. Don't try to make her have that visual. Okay, Jackie, let me say this. As we get ready to close, I'm going to ask y'all what you've learned today. But let me say this for all of you who thought it was true. There was a story yesterday or the day before, and we had a good laugh about it on Facebook, but I want to correct the story. It was said that the man who sits on the right side of God, Pat Robertson,
oh, yes. Oh, please tell the story, yes.
Had said that about Trump's wife Melania's nude pictures, that the New York Times has thrown several of them out there with her and other women and blah, 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 and just more nude pictures of her. And we were all saying that if this had been Michelle Obama, this nude pictures brought down the first Miss Black America. Yeah. Somebody couldn't stand it. They threw these pictures out there, and she had to rescind her crown, denounce it, handed it over. She couldn't be Miss America. And we all know that had Michelle Obama been Melania Trump and had done nude pictures, that would have been Obama's undoing.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. There's no way he can be president. His wife's a hoe. She took nude pictures. Okay, so the story goes that Pat Robertson had reportedly said that Melania's nude pics are pure art that shows the beauty of God's work. But I investigated this story, and it came across Snoop's, and it is fictional. He did not say it. And so unlike...
he didn't say that. Okay.
No, he didn't say it. So unlike Donald Trump and his followers, even when truth smacks them in the face, I will report the truth, share the truth, and I will accept the facts and the truth. Okay? So in defense of Pat Robertson, it is reported by Snoops.com that he did not say that the story was completely and totally fictitious. And I'm rather glad to hear it, because I was about to start thinking that he done lost his mind too, because we all know how holy roller they are.
Oh, yeah.
Is he the one that God was going to kill, or was going to take from us if he didn't get $8 million in a day some years ago, Jackie?
I don't know, Bram.
I think that he was, Pat Robertson was the one. And it was funny as hell because he didn't get the 8 million and he's still here.
Yeah.
But he was in trouble, you know, and he said that God told him that he was going to take him unless they gave him $8 million that day, and he didn't get the 8 million, but he's still with us. But he did not say that. But and I do want to say that I don't particularly think it disqualifies her husband from becoming president, or had Michelle Obama been a nude model, that it would have disqualified Barack Obama. I think Melania Trump's husband disqualifies himself from being president because he is insane.
Yes.
And that's all I got to say about that. Jackie, Walt, what did y'all learn today?
Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go first.
Okay.
I learned today that Brenda is still intent on burning my eyes out from the inside.
with my imaginary visual
That's right.
pictures.
Imagine Roger Ailes naked. Oh Lord.
Jackie need a
you
drink.
an awful creature. And you have just got to stop doing that, Brenda,
Oh, Jackie.
I like being able to see. All right?
Jackie, I'm sorry. Jackie,
Yeah.
if they quit bringing them to me, I'll quit envisioning
I'm
that.
sorry, Brenda, that just isn't good enough. Okay?
Well, what have you learned today?
Well, I learned something that's kind of close to that. I learned that I should probably never mention the name Newt Gingrich when we talk. I mean, I know that he was supposed to be doing the so-called, I guess we have to put the imaginary quotation marks around it, right? The intervention for Donald Trump. But I know that you have a history with Newt Gingrich, so I shouldn't have mentioned him.
Yes, thank you so much, Walt. I appreciate it.
Well, let me tell y'all what I've learned today. No matter what we do or say, Donald Trump does not give a fuck about America or Americans. He only cares about himself. Go ahead, Jackie.
You know, what we realize about Donald Trump is that, first of all, he's not nearly as rich as he says he is.
Mm-hmm.
And he desperately wants to be. He wants to be the big dog.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And being the president is all about him. It ain't got nothing to do with y'all. If y'all will recall that he said that when he was president, he was going to do something about the media and their privileges, and he was going to do something about Judge Curiel. And
it's like he's totally unfamiliar with the Constitution, because when you start talking about doing something with the media, that's bad. That's bad, dog.
Like Mr. Khan told him, have you even read the Constitution? And I think Mr. Khan laid out what article. Have you even read the Constitution? You can't become president and start taking out revenge with your petty teenage revenges on different groups and people. That's not what the presidency is all about. You can't do it. But we have learned, like I said, that Donald Trump doesn't give a puck about the American people or the United States in
Yeah.
which
Well,
they
what he
live.
does, what he does, and what he has done is he has benefited mightily from our system, but it's only relevant as far as it benefits him and his. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
I think that's true. That's pretty fair.
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, well, we are fair people here. Well, for entertainment purposes only, every now and then I go off the rails with my conspiracy theories or a damn good joke. But we are a fair group
And
here.
Brenda, that's one of the things I think that we should all prepare for next week. I think that we should all make up a conspiracy theory to present on the show next week.
Well, Jackie, that would be wonderful, and you
Best one.
that would be wonderful, Jackie. Thank you for coming up with it and allowing me to do it for fun anyway. Because I got
I
one.
want to do one. So, everybody think of one, and next week we'll present our best conspiracy theories.
Oh,
Okay?
Jackie, this is yummy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Walt, are you there, Walt?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm there.
Do you think-
Walt just can't believe I suggested such a thing.
Yeah, and what I'm thinking is what in the world could come up in Walt's mind. Walt, do you think you could come up with something like that?
Probably. I read enough novels about the Kennedy assassination. I could probably.
Oh yeah, and you read that book about fears. What's the book, Walt?
What was the title? I forgot. I got it on my bookshelf. I forgot. But Why Americans Are Afraid of Everything is essentially the title.
yeah. But
on the other hand, maybe you should be afraid at the moment.
Well, this thing I learned about voter fraud has just amazed me, and I am going to get off the show and go right away and post it because most people probably won't read the whole article. Thank goodness Barry shared it with Walt, and Walt shared it on our Let's Talk About It page on Facebook. We invite you to please, if you like the show, if you like Jackie, Walt, me, Barry, you like one and you don't like the others, please go over and hit the like button on our Facebook page and enjoy some of the articles that we put up and some of our opinions, me being the main one. Jackie doesn't indulge in that very much, and Walt prefers not to say anything. Unlike me, before I post a story that I've read and think is very interesting and that will help to broaden your thoughts and your minds and help you to have a very good brain as well, I got something to say on the article most of the times, and I don't like to post stuff that I haven't read. So I read it and then I have an opinion and then I post it. But please go over and like our Let's Talk About It page. Once again, I will do my very best to work on my microphone system, and so that I can play the break music as I say goodbye to you. But I want to say to you that you have been listening to Let's Talk About It. I am the wild and wonderful Brenda White, coming to you live from the Jewel of the Delta, and that is Forest City, Arkansas. I want you to remember to live, laugh, love, and make love as often as you can. Keep the bullshit out of your lives and be kind to one another. Join us here tomorrow night for Nothing But the Blues with your girl Brenda Pearl, as I bring to you the very best of Delta blues, Stankin' Leg blues, and Southern Soul blues. And then join me Saturday night for Let's Get Soft and Warm Together, as I play for you the very best of love making, baby making, make you want to call somebody music from 11 p.m. until 2 a.m. And y'all have been listening and joining David Capers and myself and Walt in big numbers, and we appreciate you so very much. Thank you for your love and your support, okay? And then join Professor Walter Dubiel, my partner right here at Let's Talk About It. Join him every Monday night from 9 until 11 p.m. Eastern Time for Blues in the Night. Nobody knows the blues like Walt knows the blues. He just doesn't play the blues for you. Zydeco blues and any other kind of blues you can think of. He doesn't just play it for you, but he gives you the history of the singers, the songwriters, and so on. But you will really enjoy Blues in the Night with Professor Walter Dubille. Okay, so having said all of that, once again, thank you so very much for listening to Let's Talk About It. And I'll see you tomorrow night for Nothing But the Blues with your girl, Brenda Pearl. You've been listening to Let's Talk About It at the #1 broadcasting network on the net, and that's Spreaker.com. I love y'all. Y'all have a good day, and I'm out, okay? Okay, quick interruption, y'all. You know, that was the wrong song that I played going out. So I'm going out now. Love you. Back.
Sponsored by the #1 broadcasting network on the net. And that's Spreaker, that's Spreaker, that's Spreaker, that's .com.
Separates us is what we've been taught to believe. But don't you be deceived. Oh yeah, we are one. We are one. We are one.
If there is anyone out there who still doubts that America is a place where all things are possible, who still wonders if the dream of our founders is alive in our time, who still question the power of our democracy, tonight is your answer.
You're asking today, how long will it take? Somebody's asking, how long will prejudice blind the visions of men? I come to say to you this afternoon, however difficult the moment, however frustrating the hour, it will not be long, because truth crushed earth will rise again. How long? Not long, because no lie can live forever. Yes, sir. How long? Not long. Because you shall reap what you sow. Yes, sir. How long? Not long. How long? Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yes, that scaffold sways the future. Behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. How long? Not long. Because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. How long? Not long. Because mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He's trampling out the vintage where the grapes of wrath are stored. He's loosed the fateful lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on. He has sounded forth the trumpet that shall never call retreat. He is sifting out the hearts of men before his judgment seat. Oh, be swift, my soul, to answer him. Be jubilant, my feet. Our God is marching on. Glory, hallelujah. Glory, hallelujah.